Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today in my ridiculously overcrowded shop, we're going to swap out motor controllers on my Surron X Black edition, which is filthy. But we're going to go ahead and put in this BAC4000 controller from Greenline Engineering. I've had this for a little while, haven't had the time to put it on. This is not going to be an install video, but we'll highlight anything interesting about the install, and then we're going to do a ride. Now, this bike at the moment is a 100% stock battery, not bypassed. So what I want to see is, with the new controller, what is the difference between the performance from the original bike to the new controller with the original battery? At some point, will I bypass the battery or get a bigger one? Maybe. I said I wasn't going to start fooling with this thing, but you know, you can't help it. I want a little bit more guts out of it. So let's take a look and get rolling here. All right, one interesting thing when you take one of these apart, a lot of these bolts are metric hex head. You know, you can use a hex driver on a ratchet, but what I find really handy is these T-handled hex drivers. Right, I've got a set of those. The 5mm, actually the 4 and the 5 at the moment are the ones that I seem to be using the most. It just makes this a heck of a lot easier. And I also noticed that most of these fasteners are not particularly tight as the bike came from the factory. Certainly not loose, but not tight either. I'm gonna Loctite them when I put it back together. So here's something that's not immediately obvious. When you take out the 2 bolts on the top of the motor controller, there's a plastic plate here that you have to take out to get at the other 2 bolts. So just know that comes out really easy, but in my case, when I took the bottom bolts out, it didn't come out. I was like, where the heck are those other 2? Just had to pop that out of place. So on the Surron X, you really need to drop the skid plate in order to do this. The updated instructions from Greenline are on a Segway, and it's just a little bit different. And then I connected the wires, extended the wires, did the heat shrink before actually mounting the bottom bracket on the bike. I actually had it sitting on a box here so that I could do that. The instructions also don't show you that, at least in my harness, the red and the black kind of came out opposite, so I had to just wiggle these around a little bit to get them where they needed to go. Other than that, we're making progress here. And here's one more little tip. The video doesn't talk about this, which I am assuming is the ground wire that the email they sent me refers to. It says, hey, check out this video, the upgraded install video, and don't forget to install the ground wire. I am going to just make sure that that's a ground wire, and then I am going to attach it to the negative terminal there. So wiring this on the Surron is challenging. You've got these 2 looms that are in this really big cable wrap that's not flexible and tends to get in the way. And then of course you got to snake your way up here, you know, through this rat's nest and plug into these connectors. Then the other challenge is, if you'll notice, these start off, they're going to be up at the very top, but then the wires here that come out, the green and the yellow, that go up to the egg rider and the brake, right, have to come out of here. So to make this easier, I am going to remove this cable sheathing and zip tie these together. These are not high voltage lines, and I think I can get away with that, and I think it's just going to make a better install. All right, here's the modified harness. So I took off that cable sheathing, zip tied together what was wrapped up in that, with the exception of the wires that go up to the handlebars. Right now they separate and they run up and they're a bit free. So this is just a lot easier to work with and to route. Now, if you don't know what you're doing, I would not recommend doing this. And of course, do it at your own risk. I'm sure by cutting off that cable sheathing, I've probably voided any warranty I had, but I'm willing to take that chance. Just be careful if you decide to do the same thing. However, this is going to result in a much cleaner installation. Here's another recommendation. Before you get the thing all buttoned back up, like you can see, I don't have the egg rider on the handlebar yet. I have yet to connect the regenerative brake. I've got most of my wires tucked in, but not all of them. Before you're done, put the battery back in and make sure it works. Right? That way, if you get a wire not connected or something, you're going to find out ahead of time. Now, I can tell you by changing that wiring around, mine went back together a lot easier. I spent more time on the wiring than any other piece of this, making sure that when I put the new controller up into place, that I didn't pinch anything, that the wires weren't bent crazily, and that everything was routed appropriately. Literally spent 2 hours fooling around with that. So my advice to you, be careful, take your time. That's probably the most critical part of this installation. And here we are, all done and buttoned up. So I've got my regenerative braking right here. I moved my sport mode button because I don't have that wired in anymore. I'm just going to use that for the horn until I get a just standalone horn button. I've got the egg rider there. Everything fit nicely, all tucked in. Wiring not bad. Might want to get a heat sink. We'll see how hot this thing gets. And of course, I fired it up and it works. So what's next? Well, let's go for a ride. All right. So all of that being done, we're going to do a quick little seat of the pants test here. So I'm just powered up. I've changed absolutely nothing. Reminder, 100% stock battery, not bypassed. I want to see what's the difference in power, what's the difference in throttle response. Let's just see. First thing I noticed, my regenerative braking doesn't seem to do anything. I might have to enable that. And we just cut out. That is not a good first test. Sure what the deal was there. That cut out on me and I had to reset. So, might have to actually change something. Change what? I don't know. Maybe I should read the instructions. Alright, so I came in and I read the instructions. And the instructions basically say download the Egg Rider app. So I did that. And then going through it, my battery current limit was set to 80%, which is for a stock battery. I changed it to 75. I'm going to take another ride and see what kind of difference that makes. I also noticed regen ratio is 25. So before I get too crazy, I'm gonna read and see what else I can modify here. And at some point, I think I'm going to go ahead and bypass the battery. But let's take one more quick ride. Alright, so we're going to try this one more time. I am now at 75% battery. I just want to see if it cuts off. I haven't changed anything else. And, well, let's just see how it goes. Still cut off, so something is still not right. So let's see what happens at 70%. Can I go more than 100 feet without killing the battery? Regen braking is working. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm just adjusting my mirror so I can see. Alright, beans. Still cuts out at 70%. I think the thing to do is to probably charge my battery because it's low, and we'll see if that makes any difference. Well, my battery turns out was at about 15%. And then I remembered the other day, before I did any of this, I was riding the bike around and it cut out once or twice on me and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. So now I've got an almost fully charged battery. It's about 90-something%. I put the egg rider back at 80%, which is the maximum for a non-bypass battery. And we're going to take a spin and see what happens. So as you can see, now it's dark, it's cold. The whole day went by because I had other things I was working on. And we're all charged up. Let's see if we cut out. It's definitely faster. Wow. Stock battery. Alright, well that's not good. Cut out that time and doesn't want to come back on. And that is some interesting behavior. I'm going to wait this out for a second. So, as you can see, 80% with a full battery still cut out on me. So I'm going to make one last change here, and I'm calling it a day. So I just changed it back to 75%. You can see that time when it shut off, it was a little bit annoying, and it kept flashing my light. I don't think that's a good sign, and it took a while for it to come back to life. So now we're at 75. Let's see what 75 does. Same tests over. I love that regenerative braking. That is just so cool. Didn't cut out. Didn't cut out. Seems to be the sweet spot. And I gotta tell you, the performance compared to stock, much better. Much better. Acceleration is tremendously better. Whoa. So where do we end up after all of that? This thing is cool. So stock battery, no bypass, 75%. The acceleration is much better than it was before. Top end to me feels to be about the same. Throttle response is better. I've got a lot to learn and a lot of tweaking to do, and I'm going to bypass my battery now. So I'm going to do that myself. I can't see spending $30 for 3 pieces of wires and a wire and a couple of connectors. But in any case, so far, my Greenline Engineering BAC4000 kit, definitely at least a B+, if not an A. And once I have a better idea how this thing works, I'll post a real review. Until then, thanks for watching, and take care.